And a very happy Saturday to you. Welcome in. It is last call here on WagerTalk TV. And if you're new to us, well, this is the opportunity to hammer out any last-minute plays here for the day. And we got a ton coming your way here. Full loaded MLB baseball slate. We've got NBA playoff action. Doesn't get any better here, guys. An elimination game with OKC and Dallas. So we've got a couple of Game 7s tomorrow to preview. And we've got WNBA action in full effect. And let's not forget, the 149th running of the Preakness will happen today. So we got a little something for everyone and a guest list that is loaded, including RR1L. Steve Merril will be here. Mr. Sean Alvarez will lay out the Preakness for you. Mr. Ronald Cabang is going to be hammering out some WNBA, and our first guy up, you know him, when it comes to Major League Baseball and, in fact, WNBA. It's Mr. Adam Trigger in the house here. And Trig, a great slate of games here today in the MLB. We're going to go over a couple of them here. But you are also back at it, and I remember a couple of years ago, you were big into the WNBA. So are you back in it again this season?
Yeah, I did it for 10 years. The first year I didn't give any WNBA plays out was last year, Joe. I felt like, I don't know, from the pandemic on, I thought the edge had diminished a little bit in that league, but I think that was a mistake. I think I would have done okay had I kept it going last year. I went back to 2022, a very limited sample for me that season, but I hit 60% of my plays. And it's always done pretty good for me, I would say. So I'll probably play it sparingly. I'm 1-1 so far this season. I don't anticipate firing like a million of these, but I have one tonight, and I threw it in the package with the baseball play I have up for sale. So, it's something I plan to plug away at this summer.
I love it. All right, shout out first and foremost to the chat. Those of you joining us on IG this morning, hit that follow if you haven't done so already. And John, Divide It, Don't Hide It, Finley is in the chat room bright and early here today. Apparently the Chardonnay and Ambient have worn off. He is ready to roll. Tyler here. Lord Farkud is here. We've got everybody, Trig. So let's roll, man. Let's talk a little Major League Baseball here today. And we're going to start with a game that you're pretty high on. And we just watched them, I feel like, a couple hours ago with the Giants and Colorado. So what are we doing in this edition here of the Giants today?
Yeah, well, I was really high on him last night, and Joe, I kind of got screwed out of a win. The Giants, of course, made a pitching change, moving Kyle Harrison to today. I listed the pitchers and didn't come back and bet it. I wasn't as confident in Mason Black, but the Giants did what I expected them to do last night, which was snap Colorado's sort of insane 7-game winning streak. I don't know where that came from. I still think, like, if you go back to my analysis yesterday, it was a combination of the Rockies, playing some good ball, but the Rangers and the Padres really kind of, catching them at the right time. And, I think the Rockies have come back to earth. They were humbled a little bit last night by the Giants. I wouldn't be surprised if that continues through the weekend. This was an 8-28 team, Joe, before the 7-game win streak. They're still one of the worst teams in baseball. And I don't think the last week changes that. You still come into today. Now they come off the loss. They're still 6-17 on the road. They still have no pitching, something we'll get into in a second. But the Giants, I think they have the potential to be a 500 team. They're 13-10 at home. Kind of went back through their schedule. They haven't exactly had it easy. They've played the Dodgers 6 times, the Padres 7 times. They had to go out to Philly for a 4-game road trip, a 3-game set at Fenway. So, they've definitely had they're a pretty difficult schedule to this point. I think they've certainly underachieved, but it wouldn't surprise me to see the Giants start to come around as they, get, this is a stretch against the Rockies. I think they have the Pirates next. So I am still high on the Giants, bouncing back and trending toward 500. And I think they get another win today. The Rockies are going to go with Ty Block, who is, you look at his numbers very quickly. They look okay at the AAA or at the big league level this year. It's a very small sample. He's a guy that's kind of gotten knocked around. I say he's probably more like a 5 ERA guy, comes in with an ERA of 3. The Giants just saw him and couldn't really break through. He only went 3 innings in that series in Denver against the Giants, but they had 4 hits, got him for 1 run, could have gotten more. And, that's kind of been the story, Joe, with the Giants. It seems like they don't capitalize on opportunities. They always could get a little bit more. But again, how much of that is, just it's been a month and a half. You had a couple guys slumping, playing against really, solid opposition, Dodgers, Phillies, Red Sox, 7 games against the Padres. And those were back earlier in the season when the Padres were playing well. So, all of that stuff I think is working against the Giants a little bit here, that could sort of work itself out going forward. Now, Kyle Harrison was a big reason for my handicap yesterday, which is why I couldn't just come back and fire the Giants after they scratched him. Unfortunately, the books have adjusted. So yesterday we were going to get Kyle Harrison at minus 140. Now we'll have to lay minus 185, which is why it's not going to be a client play. But I expect Harrison to be really good again. I've watched this kid extensively since last year when he was at Sacramento, all of his starts this year. The one thing I've noticed with him, Joe, is when he faces a team like the Rockies or like some of the lesser teams he's faced, the Marlins, the Pirates, the Nationals, he lets his fastball do the work and just throws the ball over the plate. And it works out for him. Like, he just threw 7 innings in Denver against the Rockies, shut him out. No problem. And I think he'll do that again today. Where he gets into trouble is when he faces like the better teams, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, where he's trying to paint every corner. And now he's putting guys on base via the walk, so on and so forth. So I really like Harrison. That fastball is awesome. A lot of live movement, 95. Like he's going to be a very good starting pitcher. He already is. And I'm less concerned with the Giants bullpen here because Harrison will go pretty deep. He's giving him like 6 innings a start pretty much regularly at this point. So I think he's a far better option at starting pitching or at the starting pitcher position. The Giants were able to get a lead and extend their lead, so they didn't really need to go to their absolute top relief guys yesterday. And then Solaire's back, so a lot of reasons I think to like the Giants going forward. This won't help this game, but Blake Snell was phenomenal last night at AAA. So that's got to fire this team up a little bit. 5 no-hit innings, 10 strikeouts against the Dodgers AAA affiliate, who has one of the best lineups in AAA. So I think the Giants maybe have some nice momentum in their favor right now, Joe. I would take them again here. You might need something to pair it with at minus 185, but I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of knock the Rockies around all weekend.
Yeah, not a lot from either starting pitcher last night, Trig, to your point there. Long ball, I believe, for Estrada and the Giants was more than enough to get it done. And Courtney Buttingham in the chat room says, hard to believe Rockies might lose again here tonight. And if they do, they're certainly going to need anger and depression management. That they will, because Trig has got them all over the Giants here tonight to get their ass handed to them once again.
This is a team that they doubled their road win total on that win streak. They had 3 road wins before last year. Now they have 6. They're 6-17 on the road. They have no pitching and they play terrible baseball. Like a week ago, they were the worst. Like, I think the consensus worst team in the league. They kind of came out of nowhere, won 7 games. I still think the Rockies are probably they're a bottom 2 team in baseball, maybe 3. Like, I don't know if I'm willing to say that they're absolutely the worst because winning 7 games straight is impressive, but I do think you're going to be able to bet against them like comfortably for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I agree. And big win coming off of that news that they lost their, the guy at the top of the order there, Jung-Hoo Lee, I guess, is out for the season now for the Giants.
Yeah,
They learned that yesterday.
Yeah, so he's a guy that I watched. I watched a ton of him over the years in KBO. He was struggling. Like, I don't know that that's as big of a loss. Like, I saw like it made the headlines, but again, they just got Jorge Soler back. Like, probably in definitely an offensive upgrade. Lee has seemed to struggle to make the jump to the big leagues from an offensive standpoint. Where he will hurt them is he is defense, or where his absence will hurt them is defensively. He's a very good defensive center fielder, covers a lot of ground, makes plays, but I don't know that this year that injury is super impactful, especially when you get Soler back, who just came back last night.
Yeah, that's no man's land out there. So defense certainly will be missed here for him. But we got Rockies, San Francisco, 4:05 Eastern time, first pitch there. As usual, shout out to the chat room. You guys know the routine. MLB is what we're talking. So if you have a game, drop it in the chat here that you guys are looking at, and we'll break it down here, see if we can find a couple of edges for you. And we'll start, Trig, with a game getting ready here right off at the top. It was interesting last night with the White Sox, one of the most profitable teams in Major League Baseball, which is rather easy to do, by the way, when you're always a $2 dog. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
And if you win 4 games in a row, guess what? You're the most profitable team in baseball. But not a train I want to get in front of the Yankees. They're going to be $3 favorites, I think, in this series all weekend long. 105 first pitch in this one. Aaron Judge is done messing around, apparently. What do we think we're getting with Gill and Keller today?
I think if you wanted something to parlay into the Giants to make that more affordable, you just use the Yankees on the money line here. It's not going to give you crazy parlay odds, but it is going. So the timing works out nicely. It's a 105 Eastern start, so you'll know the outcome before the Giants game, and it'll get that 185 down to where it's more playable. So again, it's like I don't see how you go a different way in this game, Joe. The Yankees are. I kind of said this since the beginning of the year. I still feel that. I feel strongly about this. I think the Yankees are the best team in baseball. I think they will end up in a World Series. I think they have the best sort of makeup to be able to do it from we haven't even seen Judge and Soto both hit simultaneously yet. Like imagine they're both hot at the same time. Because what happens then? And then they just, it's like an embarrassment of riches. You've got Volpe. He's got a 10-game hit streak going. He's hitting over 300 during this stretch. Like the pitching is just elite top to bottom. They have more starting pitching than they know what to do with. They have an elite bullpen. And then down at AAA, they've got guys like Clayton Beeter, who would probably be up in most people's rotation or most teams' rotation at this point. A bunch of good relievers. Joe, they're actually in position where they can name the guy they want at the trade deadline. That's very scary, right? Like they have, for the most part, the pieces to give to any of these teams to get their best player, around the trade deadline. It's just, so this is a team that I'm buying long-term. And, in this matchup, Luis Gil has been fantastic. He's probably my favorite pitcher in this rotation in terms of that I look to back. Now, unfortunately, he's not sneaking up on anyone here as a $3 favorite, but ERA is 2.51, the WHIP 1.09. He's got 48 strikeouts in 43 innings pitched this season. Last 3 starts, 18 innings, 18.1 innings, 1 run on 6 hits. I think he's going to own this White Sox lineup today, which has been horrific. Brad Keller is the starter for the White Sox. He's a veteran guy that's going to go out and probably not get completely destroyed on a start-to-start basis, but the Yankees will probably destroy him. This is not, he's someone that I think very similar to the pitcher we just talked about for the Rockies. You look at his numbers, small sample this year, they look okay, but you go look at his career numbers, ERA is probably going to end up over 5. WHIP is 1.5, 1.6, which is not good for a big league starter. He's yet to pitch 5. He's yet to make it through 5 innings in any appearance at the big league level this year. So you're probably going to get Keller and then the White Sox back end relief guys, which a good Yankees lineup should be able to destroy. So I'd be very, very surprised if the White Sox won this game. So for that reason, I think you can just, and I'll answer that question. My concern with the first 5 under would be the Yankees crushing Keller second time through.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Because you don't get much room for error on these first 5 unders, and that's my concern. Like, I think Heel will be pretty good, but if the Yankees hit Keller, I mean, they could the way the Yankees are locked in right now, and Judge and like these, I mean, they could get 3-4 right off the bat, and then it's like now you're sweating. But even if they don't, second time through, Keller's probably in trouble. I don't think Brad Keller's getting through the Yankees order twice unscathed here, and so if he doesn't, you know, the back end of that White Sox bullpen is where they give up the runs. The White Sox, they have an okay formula when they get Eric fed and he can go out 6 innings, 7 innings, mix and match, and then get the ball to Kopech. That's great. Keller's not going to survive that long. You're going to need the middle relief, and that's where I think it could get ugly for the White Sox here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, give the White Sox credit. 3-22 to start on the season, 11-9 since. They did go 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position last night. So if you're really looking from a total perspective here, look to back the Yankees team total early, or fade the White Sox there, because once again they're back to that we can't score more than 2 runs kind of situation here, and the Yankee staff is not messing around as a $3 favorite in this one here. All right, Trig, we got a few games we'll rattle through here. Some folks in the chat room have a couple of questions on some games, and we'll start with a guy that you know. And a guy that is breaking every known record to mankind, pitching-wise for the Chicago Cubs. Imanaga is on the mound here tonight, and the dude is, I didn't realize he was 30 years old. He's 30 years old, and he's flat out unhittable. Nobody can seem to score off him. It's kind of bonkers, and I don't think Pittsburgh's going to score. I mean, listen, they won yesterday because they had their phenom rookie on the mound, but it's kind of hard to go against Imanaga in any way, shape, or form in this spot.
Yeah, I found this to be the case when I was going through a lot of the games today and sort of liking a lot of these big favorites, but that's the way I lean here. I think you missed your chance to back the Pirates in this series. Of course, you now have that they won 5-4 on Thursday, the big win last night. I still think the Cubs are a significantly better team. I think the Cubs are a better team collectively than they've shown to this point, even though their record is solid. 25-21 is pretty good, but this feels like a spot where the Cubs sort of get right, in my opinion. I don't know if they just destroy the Pirates. One thing I will point out with the Pirates is their bullpen has certainly come around. You go back to the beginning of the season when they had that nice run out of the gate and then really struggled. Their bullpen was surprising that they started off as good as they did, because the bullpen was kind of a mess. The Pirates bullpen has been a lot better. So they're probably undervalued from a standpoint of if you go back to the beginning of the season, the expectation for the Pirates was they were going to finish dead last by a mile in this division. I don't know if that's correct, but they're not. The Cubs are just a far superior team, and now you come in. If you're the Cubs, you've lost 4 or 5. You lost the first 2 games in this series. I just feel like this is you go back to the most recent series, Cubs Pirates back in Pittsburgh. Cubs, 2 of those games, one of them they won easily. One they won, and the other one was that weird Skeens debut rain delay type game where the Cubs came back, took the lead, gave it back, lost 10-9. For the most part, I think the Cubs have, it felt like they were going to get over the hump on Thursday. They couldn't, and they ended up losing 5-4. So I like the Cubs here. I think they get the win. And if you don't like that, the price on Yankees to Giants, maybe just go Yankees, Cubs, Giants. I'm not a huge fan of these big favorite money line parlays, but it's hard to see that one losing.
Yeah, the Cubs have lost 4 of their last 5, so believe it or not, this is probably cheap because of that fact here. But a run and a half, I wouldn't even mind laying it, quite honestly, with Imanaga on the mound here tonight. This should be a good one to get back on track for them. And again, that game, guys, 2:20 Eastern time at Wrigley will be the first pitch there. One of the other games that we had here, Trig, was Atlanta and the Padres. It's Rosar wants to know what we're thinking about the Atlanta Braves and the Padres here. That was an interesting game last night. What are you, everyone was so worried about, will they be able to hit Fried? Well, they should have been worried whether or not Atlanta can actually score any runs anymore. It's kind of crazy here, Trig, but how are you looking at this one? Elder and Darvish. He got kicked out. All right. Well, there you go, Trig. We'll get him back in just a second. There he is. All right. Yeah. Sorry, Trig. We got you. Elder and Darvish was the one we were looking for here today. How are you approaching this one?
Yeah, I mean, I bet against Elder in his most recent start. It was Sunday night. Got a little bit fortunate there to get a walk-off winner with the Mets. He actually pitched pretty good in that game. Better than I thought. But I will say this about Elder. Like, I made the comment earlier in the year that they the Braves, they bypassed. This is a guy that was a 2023 All-Star that they bypassed calling up for like Darius Vines and Aaron Winan. So like I kind of had the mind to fade him. And I think, the Padres, they were the team that was shipping all those wins to the Rockies like a couple days ago. And now they bounce back. They beat the Braves. 13 hits last night, which tells me that that offense might be coming around after a very disappointing stretch. Like that, I like this Padres team. I don't know how they slumped for so long. I kind of leaned, toward the Padres and Darvish here, and had the Padres not won last night, I'd be more sort of likely to play it in this spot, I think. But for me, like Elder's still a fade. He's probably the one guy in that Braves rotation I want to take shots at still. And if the Padres are going to sort of wake up offensively, I think they could knock him around a little bit here. I don't know if the price is right, but I lean Padres, and I think I would run it back with San Diego. I think they maybe woke up with that win.
That was a huge, and I mean absolutely huge win there, especially going up against Fried. But once again, the Braves have a run problem. They can't score any. Because that adds just another under, I believe, to that ridiculous record, Trig, which is 22-1 now to the under, or some absolutely obnoxious number. They're having a problem putting runs across here. So if you can't win with Fried on the mound, boy, oh boy, Braves may need to reevaluate over the next week or so here. And Trig, what do you got coming up here today in baseball here up at your page at WagerTalk.com? It's a loaded card.
Yeah, so right now I've got 4% baseball play. I threw in a WNBA play just in the package for free. Those are the two best bets that I currently have posted. There's a good chance I'll play Korean baseball, which is overnight, so keep an eye out for that. And if I end up with any other Major League Baseball, I'll certainly add it. But as we already discussed, a lot of the other games I like, they're these like big, huge favorites today. So I don't know, maybe pick two of them, throw them in a parlay. Again, like Yankees, Cubs, Giants, I kind of feel like I'll find their way. So do what you will with that.
There you got it. Trig, crush it here today, man. He has been crushing it. So make sure you guys visit him over at WagerTalk.com. We appreciate it. Also, speaking of WNBA, coming up here in just a few, our man RC, Ronald Cabang, he's got not one but two WNBA games he is going to break down for you. You're absolutely going to want to hear what he has to say. One of the best when it comes to breaking down the WNBA. Shout out now to some of those in the chat room. Drew in the house, NASCAR Shorty in the house. Appreciate there. Jimmy Burke in the house right now. Courtney, as always. Antonio, Lee in the house. You guys rock. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up if you could. We'd certainly appreciate that. As we are getting ready, don't forget R1L and a very special guest will be jumping in about 20 minutes or so here. So you're not going to want to miss that either. But R1L, Merril putting the final touches on his card today. He'll have more Major League Baseball as well as the NBA games coming up this afternoon. A big Game 6 between Dallas and OKC. But one of the biggest events of the day, and what a weekend it is. Plenty of MLB We've got a major championship. I'm hoping nobody else got arrested on the PGA Tour today, but you never know. I didn't have Scotty Scheffler in handcuffs on my bingo card. I'm not sure if anybody else did, which guarantees that they're going to win. He's going to win this damn thing at some particular point now. But let's not forget it's the second leg of the Triple Crown. The Preakness getting ready at Pimlico here a little bit later this afternoon. And joining us, Sean Alvarez of the Pony Pundits, hanging out with us on a Saturday. And Sean, it was an interesting derby. A very interesting trip, but sometimes you get that when you get 20 horses, unexpected things happen, especially when the rail opens up here. But we've got an opportunity today for a possible Triple Crown race next in 2 weeks at the Belmont here, but much shorter field. We know Muth was scratched. What are we looking at here in this race here today with the Preakness? Oh, is this where I'm supposed to do the mind reading? Go ahead there. One more time there, Sean. Let me hear you. No. It looks like I'm going to have to clap it out here. Go ahead. One more time, Sean. You got it? No. Oh, you are a muted SOB. So hang in there, man. We'll see if we can get that going. I mean, Sean looked really good. I could actually do the voiceover if you want, Sean. You can just let the lips move and I'll go. Just go ahead and re-sign in. You'll be good to go. We'll get you in there. In the meantime, though, we do have, let's see here if the number is up here. Let me just double check. In the NBA today with Oklahoma City and Dallas here, guys. We did just see a little bit of a line movement here early this morning. So the money seems to be pouring in on one side here. We'll talk about that coming up here. But is he ready now, Sean? Is he good to go? Oh, no.
Are we good? I saw the
we
red
go.
box.
All right. There we go. I was going to say, you haven't sounded that good in a long time. So let me see here, Sean. One more time. Preakness today. We do have the opportunity for, kind of hard to believe, but Mystic Dan, an opportunity if he wins today for a Triple Crown race in the Belmont in 2 weeks. How are you approaching this game here today, or this race, rather, with a whole lot less horses in this one? Bigger prices, too. A lot of people think this is a big payday for us. Are you on that page, or is this chalky as chalk?
I mean, it's great to at least have the opportunity for a Triple Crown race. We didn't necessarily have that opportunity last year when the connections of Rich Strike decided to skip the Preakness. So it's great to have the Kentucky Derby winner in this race and at least have that opportunity. But like you alluded to with the scratch of Muth, Mystic Dan kind of just falls into being the morning line favorite and the target of who we want to beat. And I think as far as Mystic Dan's chances go, we really have to keep an eye on what's going on at the track. I mean, it looks like it's a wet track early, but the race, the Preakness that we're talking about is what 12 hours from now. I mean,
yep.
We've got the entire day to go, so really got to keep an eye on the weather and what's going on. But yeah, I mean, like you said, Mystic Dan had to beat 19 horses, and we talked about it 2 weeks ago. It really comes down to the trip, and Brian Hernandez was patient on the rail. He had a really, really solid ride, waited for that hole to open. And luckily for him, it did. And if Sierra Leone and Forever Young weren't hand fighting throughout the stretch, they may have run down Mystic Dan. So it's a great story, but for me, I'm trying to beat this favorite today.
So let me ask you, because it's kind of shocking when we learned earlier in the week that Muth was scratched. That was, of course, the Bob Baffert stick it up everyone's ass horse, which is pretty much how he has groomed him and what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be Bob Baffert's big middle finger to all of horse racing. But it comes down with a spikes of fever. They scratch him, but he still has another horse. And I can't remember the last time Baffert had a horse that had no buzz. Why are we not talking about imagination more? Literally nobody seems to be rallying around this horse. It's a pretty decent number for a Baffert horse with a lot of speed. I mean, what do you think about number 9, Imagination?
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about the nine imagination. And, from what I'm seeing, I'm looking at Catching Freedom, Mystic Dan, and Tuscan Gold kind of sharing that favoritism. Nobody's talking about the nine imagination. And we saw it last year with National Treasure. This is the speed of the race. There's not a lot of other horses that want to go or and at least vie for the lead. And so we may see, slower fractions and Frankie Dettori and Imagination kind of steal the show. Nobody's talking about Baffert. We're only talking about Baffert and the Scratch of Muth. He may just sneak under the radar and walk the dog on the front. And if he gets away with soft fractions, this is a horse that is going to be tough to beat, tough to catch at least.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's like anything else, John, right? You can't. I'm sorry. It's a great story, but sorry, Mystic Dan. Nobody here is looking to cash a even money ticket. Sorry, that's just not going to happen. But when you look at this race here, give us a couple of horses you're going to key around, because big opportunity in here. There could be some really big numbers with some horses here, and we talked about it on the Preakness preview with Marco, which I'd encourage you guys to check the link in the description. Check out that preview that we did earlier in the week here. Some great information about these horses. But, man, there could be some horses coming from behind here with some big numbers for us. So who are a couple of horses you're keying in on this race?
Yeah, I mean, you spoke about horses coming from the back and at least making that closing kick. And if you like Mystic Dan and Mystic Dan warrants that shorter price that you alluded to, there's a lot to like about the three Catching Freedom. We talked about the way that the rail opened up for Mystic Dan. He really just kind of fed through that gap and was able to kind of get that first jump. But if you look 2-3 lengths back, that's the three Catching Freedom and Flavian Pratt. Flavian wanted to get out. You can kind of see his head looking over to the side, throughout the stretch. Not the stretch, I'm sorry, the clubhouse turn. And there was just nowhere to go. And in a 19-20 horse field, if you swing out that wide, you're in the parking lot at Churchill Downs. So, Catching Freedom and Flavian Pratt kind of waited for that pocket hole to open and followed Mystic Dan throughout that through that gap on the rail and kind of got bumped a little bit. And if you look at where Catching Freedom was when he made that move, he actually made up ground on Mystic Dan. So, they had a similar trip, but, we're talking about an 8-horse field. I always say the shorter the field, it's more of a jockey's race. Flavian's going to let Catching Freedom, get out, not be stuck on the rail, kind of get that clean trip. And I just think that Catching Freedom's got a bigger closing kick than Mystic Dan, and I don't think he's going to be further back. So that's definitely a horse that I'm looking at. And I talked about it on our Pony Pundit show when we broke it down. I love the 8 Tuscan Gold. It's kind of more of a human connections type of angle. Chad Brown had Tuscan Gold entered in the Peter Pan last week at Aqueduct, a grade 3 race, I believe. A little bit, obviously, not little bit, much shorter purse. And instead of pointing Sierra Leone to the Preakness, he put up Sierra Leone to work out, get rest, pointing Sierra Leone to the Belmont. He scratched Tuscan Gold out of the Peter Pan, and now he's pointed to the Preakness today. We saw that same angle with Cloud Computing when he won. We saw that same angle with Blazing Sevens last year that ran a huge race just to get beat by a nose by National Treasure. This is an angle I love. Chad Brown scratching out of, laying off a horse, and pointing to the Preakness. It's a really good, positive angle for Chad Brown. And if you look at what this horse did, it was more of I would say a learning trip his first time out. And then his second trip was out at Gulfstream Park, going a mile and 16th, and just ran away from that field. Kind of did what he was supposed to do as being the favorite. And then he came back and he ran the Louisiana Derby, and he ran a solid third, but that third place was behind Catching Freedom and Honor Marie. Honor Marie ran, I would say, a respectable race in the Kentucky Derby. So his form holds up. ran an 84 buyer in his maiden victory, jumped up 11 points in the Louisiana Derby, and now that's it's only his third start. So, we've talked about it before, third, fourth, fifth start, horses generally are going to make kind of that next jump up, and that, stepping up, not necessarily in class, but in buyer speed figures. And if he makes another jump up from that 95 buyer speed figure, that puts him probably in the winner's circle later today. So that's another horse that I like. Like I said, I'm not going to get beat by Mystic Dan if the track comes up wet. If it's a fair, dry track, I'm going 3-8 on top. And I'm going to get kind of weird underneath with some prices. Going to try and beat Mystic Dan. But if it's a wet track, Mystic Dan definitely you got to respect Mystic Dan on a wet track. So don't get beat. It's a little bit more of a defensive play, bringing the chalk in. But like I said, if it's a wet track, he's already proven to be to run well on a wet track. So I'm not going to get beat by Mystic Dan if it's wet and raining.
Well, I'm with you. As much as I say that, if a rain is coming, that horse is already proven he loves the slop. So it's going to be tough at that point. But I'm not going to get. I need Just Steel. Had him big in the Derby, and Just Steel. Not the Asmussen, ran him into the damn ground here. Rosario on top of him. Don't forget, this was, the son of Justify here, I believe, finished second ahead of Mystic Dan in the Arkansas Derby. This horse has got a little left in the tank. If it sets up correctly, I think I just need him to hit the board, and that'll be a big enough number for all of us here to be able to make a lot of money. You have your card ready to go here at WagerTalk.com. Folks just have to go to your page, and entire Preakness day today, all your pick threes, pick fives, ready to rock here, Sean?
Yeah, full card selections. I've been updating it all morning based on scratches and kind of how I'm seeing the track is going to play out. But yeah, go to my page and you get all full card selections. I've got a couple pick threes, got a couple of late pick fives. There's still plenty of time to get in. The better races are later in the card, so don't wait. Let's get in and cash some tickets together.
Let's do it, man. Sean Alvarez, outstanding stuff as always, man. Cash those tickets here today. Could be a monster number in the Preakness here. So jump on board. Visit Sean over at WagerTalk.com. All right, still plenty more MLB NBA action coming up. Double R1L, Steve Merril will be joining us here in just a few. Not to mention, we have a special guest coming up for you guys. Again, any questions you may have, especially regarding the WNBA, drop them in the chat. Why? Because we have absolutely one of the best in the business here today, ready to roll. RC in the house, Mr. Ronald Cabang, ready to roll. RC here, WNBA. Nobody been doing it longer than you. Nobody loves the sport more than you, and you are off and running in the WNBA here. And quickly, what are your thoughts on Caitlin Clark? I mean, she gave the Knicks an extra day of rest, RC, and it didn't seem to help. So maybe she needs to play a few more games in Indiana first. But your initial thoughts of what you've seen from her so far. The adjustment period is real, is it not, in the WNBA?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I think the schedule didn't help, right? They've been playing two of the top teams in the East right off the bat, and then playing the same teams again. Playing New York and then Connecticut right after. It's a tough schedule for her. Obviously, she got a target on her back. She's drawing the best defender no matter what. Every single game she's going to play this season, she's going to draw the best defender on the opposing team. And it just so happens that, the Connecticut Sun and the New York Liberty have the physical guards that are able to keep up with her. To be honest, in the game, the first game against the Liberty, I wasn't expecting Benaja Laney to be on her just because, the Fever do have some length and size on that team. I was expecting Vandersloot or Sabrina to be on Caitlin, but they definitely stuck Benaja Laney, the most physical guard that they have, on her, and that was a problem. She didn't get going until the fourth quarter when Laney was on the bench. So, she's going to have a tough time, adjusting. her shot is there, right? She's able to make these shots that she's attempting. It's just she's not getting in good position. The physicality is a little bit different than it was in the college game. So yeah, that bit of adjustment is going to be tough for her.
She was also taking calculus like 2 months ago, people. So let's settle down here. She'll eventually get there. I promise you. All right, RC, we got a 4-game slate here in the WNBA here today. I know Lord, Courtney, we've had a few people in the chat room already throwing out a bunch of rebound props and everything else. 1:00 Eastern time is when the slate will kick off. But let's go to the night slate here. We'll start with the Chicago Sky and the Dallas Wings here. Wings 1-0, Sky not 1-0, 0-1 here, but close enough. What are we thinking here in Arlington?
Yeah, these two just faced each other in the season openers for both, their respective teams. The line for that game opened up at Wings minus 12.5, the total at 161.5, and then you come to this game, and I think the line opened at 8. And the total opened at 169.5. So big adjustments on both sides. The previous game did close at minus 8.5. The Wings ended up winning by 8. So if you had the Wings, you lost by the hook there. But I think some of the more recent movement, because I looked this morning and the line's down to just 4. The recent movement is because Jaylen Brown and Natasha Howard now being out for this game due to injuries affects the obviously the overall offense of the Wings. But if you watch that first game, JC Sheldon, the rookie, and then also Stephanie Suarez, they both looked pretty good in the few minutes that they had in that first matchup. So I think those two can definitely step up and play some meaningful minutes today. But the Wings, they got Arike to really show up, and she didn't really show up until the fourth quarter, anyways. And then they have Tiara McCowan, who I think maybe I can't see the chat, but they're probably talking about her rebounding props, and her size and ability to score in the paint and affect the paint is going to be huge here with Natasha Howard out. I think both Howard and Tiara McCowan both had double-digit rebounds, and with Howard out, you can expect more responsibility on that end from Tiara McCowan. To me, I think, like I said, the line moving is because of those two injuries. I think the Wings have the depth and the skill set and ability, even without Satu Sabali, to get the job done today. I think that the Wings should be able to cover this short spread here. I think they're both better. They're better on both sides of the ball. The Sky kept the first game close for a majority of the game, but the Wings really showed in that fourth quarter why they should be able to dominate this matchup today. And there was a huge discrepancy in free throw attempts too, and I think the Wings do a better job of contesting without fouling here tonight. I can see the Wings really dominating in the paint once again, even without Natasha Howard. Both, like I said, both offensively and defensively, the Wings still better on that side of the ball. The Wings scored 60 points in the paint and led second chance points 26-12. Defensively, the Wings had 12 blocks compared to just 3 for the Wings. So really the size on the Wings team is what really matters in this matchup today, because I don't really trust the Sky's 3-point shooting ability. They got Mabry and Dana Evans, but other than that, if they can lock them down from the 3, I don't really expect any of the 3 to 5 positions to spread the court well for the Sky. And then also turnovers. Another huge factor was turnovers compared to points off turnovers, because even though the Wings created 15 turnovers, they only managed 14 points. The Sky created 15 turnovers, but only managed 14 points off of them. And on the opposite side, the Wings actually scored 24 off of less turnovers. So I think, like I said, the total and the line probably going in the wrong directions here. I haven't played this yet. I was waiting for the line to settle, but I would look towards the Wings and the over in this one.
We've got Wings and the over in this one here. We got a couple of comments in the chat here, RC. I'll just throw them at you. Lee says Sparks over 169.5 with a whole lot of question marks here. Are we getting a whole lot of points in that game, you think?
The Sparks, I mean, they're playing the Aces. Obviously, with Aces, you're probably going to look at fast pace. To me, I don't think that. I feel like the Sparks did play above what I expected them to do in their game one. I think they do take a little bit of a step down. I'm not too sure that they could keep up with the Aces. If I was to look towards a over in this game specifically, I would actually look towards the Aces team total over. I think they I don't think we saw the best of the Aces in their first game. I think they do a little bit better today, especially shooting from three. They really struggle from three, which is one of their bread and butter. In the WNBA, the Aces is probably one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the league. So I do think that we get some positive regression from that aspect. So if I was to look at an over, it would be specifically the Aces team total over.
We've got Lord Farquad here says, Fever, Liberty, Rebound, Central this game here. We're expecting a whole lot of rebound props in that one. Are you on that one as well, RC? You agree?
I mean, I think I can see some rebounds there. I mean, if you look at Boston and Smith, definitely Smith. She didn't really play well in that game one. I think I expect her to play a little bit better in get in the second matchup here between the two teams. I would expect her to really step up on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. She really struggled there, and I think if they want Caitlin to succeed, they really need her to be able to spread the court and do damage, and Aaliyah Boston to really make those bunnies that she missed in game one, because she really struggled right there against Jonquel Jones. So I could see rebounds happening. I think it might be able to. I mean, it's tough when you have multiple bigs, right? On both sides, you have multiple bigs that can grab rebounds. So I can't really pinpoint who it's going to be. It could be Brandon Stewart. It could be Jonquel Jones. And even Sabrina has been stepping up her rebounding game this season. So, and then on the other side, you got Leah Boston and Smith and all these other folks who can grab rebounds as well. So I could see rebounds, but I can't pinpoint
who's going to get them. Good luck, but they're going to be
points,
there.
I wouldn't have Melissa Smith to be able to get the points up.
Yep, that's great. Yeah, we're not exactly sure, but they're going to be there, a lot of them in that game there. So opportunity for sure here. All right, you got another game here. You're going to talk about the late game regarding the Dream and the Mercury. And welcome back, Tina Charles, huh? Unreal. Yeah. Right back at it again. Monster effort here against the Sparks. What are we thinking we get tonight here with these two?
Yeah, I mean, so I really like the Dream Team this season. I like their depth. I like the chemistry, and I was really surprised with, like you mentioned, how well Tina Charles just jumped into the squad and performed the way that she did. I mean, I know the Mercury, they kept with the Aces, stayed within the number, but still, I really don't think that they're that type of team. Maybe they just caught the Aces sort of like on a, I wouldn't even, like a championship hangover, right? Like something like that. I don't think that the Aces really put forth their best effort against the Mercury there, but they just stuck with them for a majority of the game. On the other side, the Dream really took care of business against against their squad. I'm very high, like I said, on this Dream Team, not only because of Tina Charles and the depth, but Ryan Howard takes another step up this season, and she looked really good. I think that the inside-outside game with Charles and Ryan Howard is going to be amazing. Howard, in my opinion, is one of the few players in the league who can really take over a game and dominate a game on her own. Like she can, if they need her to really step up and just say, hey, give me the ball. Her, Jewel, like these are, and Stewie, these are in Asia. These are the few of the players that I could see could dominate a game. For me, that's really an important factor to see in the WNBA, because you don't have that type of skill set, especially with ball handling. The way that she was, dude, I think she must have broke a couple ankles in that game, in that first game. But she's a tough matchup for anybody. There's not too many that could guard her in the perimeter as well. So the Mercury, I think they only shot 38% from the field, but what kept them in that game was the fact that they shot 15 out of 36 from three. So while the Aces shot 6 from 29, like I said, when I was mentioning the Aces team total over, they really struggled against the Mercury from three, and that's something that I don't really expect them to do again. But at the same time, I do think that Mercury are one of the teams, obviously they're one of the better 3-point shooting teams. They showed that against the Aces, but I don't think they're going to shoot that efficiently against this Dream lineup here. And they also turned the ball over a bunch against the Aces as well. And I think Dream's defense is pretty solid enough to be able to create some turnovers themselves. I think the Dream are the better team on both sides of the ball again. I look to Charles and Howard, that combo right there, to continue to dominate in this matchup against the Mercury as well, especially if Griner is not going to be there. And I see some regression from the 3-point shot. So I would look towards the Dream here. I think it opened up it actually opened up as Mercury as the favorites, and now we're seeing the Dream as 2-point favorites. So it has shifted a lot from a total perspective. I think that this might be an under type game. I don't expect the Mercury's offense to shoot the 3-ball as well as they did, and I think I think from a pace perspective, I think the Dream they can run if they wanted to. But I think the Dream actually slowed this one down a little bit and play that inside-outside game, play a set offense. So that pace and then being able to limit Phoenix offensively would point me towards the under.
Looking towards the under in this one should no doubt be a great day in the WNBA. And RC, what do you got up and available right now today? What are you looking at your page at WagerTalk?
Yeah, right now, 2 plays in the NBA playoffs. I locked in on 2 plays in today's one game. And then in the WNBA, I haven't locked anything yet. I was kind of waiting for these lines to settle because I already missed the numbers from last night. So these WNBA numbers, if you haven't already noticed, they move quickly if you haven't got on it. But I was waiting for the lines to settle, and then I'm going to make my move tonight. And I'm really targeting the later 2 games that I just talked about. So whatever I mentioned as far as leans for now, those 1 or 2 of those plays are going to be what I lock in tonight. I'm probably not going to mess with these double-digit lines in the morning game. So that's what's going to be available over at WagerTalk.
All right, so let me ask you quick before you get out of here, RC, because some the folks that might be joining us here for the first time may not realize, but you got quite the endeavor rolling right now. And if you are a stats guy, then they're going to want to hop on board with what you got rolling here, brother. So tell the people about your new website, what it does, and how they can hop on board here and use it in their toolbox here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is not, a site where you go and buy picks. This is really for those who want to handicap the game, or maybe you look at the game in a different way to really to see if it aligns with your initial research, right? For me, this is sort of like a handicapper's playground. You can see trends, recent form. You can see filterable stats throughout the season, situational notes based on the schedule. You can look at the historical matchups between the 2 teams. Statistical interactions is one of my favorite things to look at, and what I mentioned a lot on shows, right? And those are the things that that are available on the site in one page. It's cleanly put together for the matchup that you're looking at specifically. Like in the MLB, like say today you have Pittsburgh and Chicago. You could see Falter's last 5 starts, Imanaga's last 5 starts, how they do in the road, how they do on at home as a favorite, as a dog, against lefties. You can see all these things together on a single page, lined up so that you can make these types of decisions really quickly. Before, when I used to handicap before the site, I would have 5 to 10 sources, depending on what sport I'm handicapping. Now I'm really down to this, the moneyballer.com, the website that I'm talking about, and the WagerTalk live odds screen, which is free, by the way. And so I have those 2 things put together, see where the lines are moving. Does it align with where I'm looking at for the game specifically? And those things, put together has put me in a really good position. We've only been open for the last month or so, and we've gotten really good feedback. I mean, if you look at my Twitter, I reposted some of the testimonials. I mean, there's guys saying signed up 3 days ago and I'm winning. I haven't won this much, blah blah blah. So all these things are working. I mean, I think that we have to put some tutorials and stuff together. But those who are handicappers through and through, who understand stats, who understand trends, this is your playground. This is what is going to help out. Get you more efficient and saving you more time, because having to sift through 5 to 10 different sources is tough, right? So having it in one place, like at themoneyballer.com, is going to be very fun and efficient for you to be able to get that stuff done.
Yeah, so you're saying knowledge is power, RC, and that's a whole lot of knowledge there on one website that folks can jump onto. Just go to moneyballer.com. That's basically, and they can sign up right from there.
Yeah, the moneyballer.com right there. We're actually giving like free access to everybody until August 1st. So a lot of the features that we have right now that are supposed to be premium services, you're able to see that, and it's going to show you have NBA. You have WNBA, you have MLB. Right now, we're really focused on MLB, and what we do is we really take the feedback from our members, right? So I think one of the best things that we have done is be able to take the feedback and implement all these changes. People wanted to see, trend stats, filterable stats. Can we see last 14 days? Can we see last 30 days? We took that and we're running with it. Can we see nerfy yerfy? Like, I don't bet those types of things, right? No run first inning, yes run first inning. I don't bet that, but people wanted to see it. We added it to the site. If you have really good feedback, if you want things to be seen, and to help you with your handicapping process and to make you have better betting decisions, you just let us know, and we're gonna try to put that and implement that as much as possible. Because for us, it's not, like I said, we're not trying to sell picks. We're really trying to put a service together to make everything easier for you to make better betting decisions.
Smart investing decisions. It's what it's all about. RC, we appreciate it, my man. Crush it today here. Don't forget, he'll have his best bets locked and loaded in the NBA as well as the WNBA here today. Head over to his page at WagerTalk.com. Good luck there, RC. All right, shout out Loose72. He's thrown 93 plays in the chat room already. Big Daddy is here, also dropping WNBA knowledge in there, as well as some of his picks. Atlanta versus Phoenix, over 170.5. Ray is calling everyone he knows. He's getting horse information. He's getting, it looks like, WNBA plays from his son. So this is, you want to talk about knowledge is power. This damn chat room is a wealth of knowledge here. So shout out Darian Company. And don't forget, R1L, Steve Merril, coming up here in just a minute. He's going to break down this NBA game coming up a little bit later today. Game number 6, closeout game, Dallas, OKC. Will they, won't they? And of course, a full slate of Major League Baseball. And you guys know how it works. Drop those games in the chat that you want Merril to break down, and he will do so. But first, I had mentioned we've got a little bit of, we got some good news here with Last Call, and we've got a very surprise guest here that's going to join us, because we are pushing the show at least another half hour to an hour on Saturdays to cover everything as we get ready to head into college football and the NFL season. And I'll be here along with my partner in crime and co-host on Bet On It, Kelly Stewart, in the house here. And Kelly is going to take the reins, and she'll be here on Saturdays throughout the summer, gearing up for college football and the NFL. And Kel, what's going on? Kind of hard to believe that we can breathe a little here for the next month or so, but before we know it, college football and the NFL will be here, won't it?
Yeah, 100 days, Joe. If you're following along on Twitter and I haven't completely annoyed you beyond belief at this point in time, I didn't intend for it to go that long. I was just trying to be funny at first. And then our good friend Bobby the bookie said, there's no way you'll do this so annoyingly for the next 126 days. And I said, oh, you just watched me. You have underestimated the fact of how annoying I could possibly be. So there are 100 days until college football kicks off. I'm very excited. We do have a lengthy summer ahead of us. I've got a couple of trips planned. Hopefully you can hit the links if I'm taking over the second half of the show. Give yourself a little bit of a break. That's what baseball season's for. Contrary to popular belief, Ariel Epstein, baseball season is for vacations and taking time off. Because like you said, Joe, football season is going to be here before you know it. I start my football handicapping usually June 1st. Right now, the transfer portal, they're picking up some late ads. And, we've gotten pretty much the coaching carousel under control at this point in time. So that's when I like to start. Once I start knowing what happened in the spring game, shout out to Brad Power for always putting together a wealth of knowledge there. And then you can kind of start to dictate how you think each conference is going to go. I, of course, will be starting with the new Big 12, a couple of teams that maybe I followed because they were in the Pac-12, but not as closely as I would have, having them be in the Big 12. So lots of research ahead of me this summer. Hopefully lots of beach days, some golf, and some relaxation before busy season gets here again.
So hit that bell, hit that subscribe button, guys, as Last Call is going to be kicking it up a notch here throughout the summer, gearing up and getting you guys ready for college football and the NFL, not to mention all the baseball that you need, and, of course, right through the Stanley Cup as well as the NBA championships. We have you covered. So, Kelly, best for last here. I saved double R1L for you. God help you. He's all yours. Steve Merrill's all his. Guys, cash those tickets. We'll see you again next week here on Last Call.
Steve Merril, welcome in. I actually just, in my Hard Rock account, placed a bet for today, and I hope we are in agreement. So we'll see if you agree with me on, of course, the underdog in the NBA. I look for those outright underdogs, and they have been plentiful, but I have been very strategic in the times that I have placed them. A couple times with the T-Wolves, a couple times with the Thunder, couple times with the Knicks. So it's been a fun, very treading lightly, if you will, NBA playoffs for me. I'm curious to who you like tonight. We just saw this one tick up to 4 on the WagerTalk odds screen about 10 minutes ago. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take the 4 at this point in time. I think this is just a little bit too high. Underdogs have cashed 3 of the last 4 in the series, but Dallas's defense has really stepped it up in this last couple of games, which does make me a little bit nervous, but that also is why the total has come down 208.5. Steve Merril, let me know what you like tonight on the hardwood.
Yeah, Kelly, this is a textbook example about having multiple accounts, as you and I have talked about. You know, the key to winning long-term isn't picking the right team. It's money management and line shopping. And right now, if you look at the WagerTalk Live odds screen, half the books have 3.5, half the books have 4. So there is no excuse, unless you're just a recreational player, and that's fine. Just be honest with yourself that if you like OKC, you're not getting a +4 now. And if you like Dallas, you're laying 3.5. And it is a critical number because this should be a tight game. It's been a tight game quite often. We saw OKC win outright by 4 in Game 4 the other night here on this court on Monday. It's funny, Kelly, when I was first initially looking at it, breaking it down for my daily video, I'm thinking, you know, Dallas has outplayed them the last 4 games, basically. This series might be over. The more I dug into it, the more I started liking the Thunder, and I am with you on the dog tonight. And I think if you're going to play them at +4, you probably sprinkle some of it on the money line, as you said, at +150, +155. They're the number 1 seed. They're the better defense. They're the better free throw shooting team. These are all things you're looking at in a tight game. And, oh, yeah, we're getting +4 points as well. I think this one goes 7, and they're back in OKC on Monday night.
Yeah, Steve, I hope that we are correct here. And as Steve mentioned, here at WagerTalk, our goal is to make you guys better bettors. If you go onto the WagerTalk odds screen, I was trying to give you the short link because I run the Instagram channel. I'm so used to using short links. www.wagertalk.com/odds. You get all of this for free. It's on a very slight delay, which is why we're able to give it to you guys for free as opposed to the places that charge, but you should still be able to get key numbers. Look for the greens because that means it's a more recently changed line and is probably still available. If you guys have a question for Merril, drop it in the chat. I've got the YouTube channel open and I see Ray D'Amico's asking Joe if he wants to go to a game in Gainesville, but not me. I'm a little hurt by that one. Andrew, I am not going to try to attempt to pronounce your last name. Okay, just for fun. Wojcik? Did I say that right? Anyway, he says he's with us on the Thunder tonight. And Heather Swan says Utah's going to win the Big 12 this year. Well, they are favored, Heather. We'll see. Lots of question marks on, whether your guy can stay healthy or not. We know he struggled with that in the past. Jerbaka42, Steve, thanks for your daily NBA breakdown. Been doing so well, taking what you say and parlaying alternate line totals and alternate player props. What are your leans on the team total today?
First thing, game 6s and 7s. I talked about this in my video. By the way, it's up here on WagerTalk TV. I've done every game, every day for the entire postseason. I will continue to do so. If the viewers find it useful, comment, thumbs up, like goes a long way to keeping that up daily. As I mentioned in my video last night when I recorded, we got it up this morning. Game 6s and 7s have been huge under money makers. Ralph Michaels, our friend Ralph Michaels, has done charts on it the last few weeks. Just on the blind, it's hitting over 60% game 6s and 7s. Second round on. Now, Ralph did a great job pointing that out earlier at the beginning of the playoffs. It's 50-50 in round 1, but it really cashes in round 2 on. I think that makes a lot of sense. We get better teams in the later rounds, better defensive teams, Class A teams. With that said, though, Kelly, as with anything in the sports betting markets, when it becomes public information, when everybody knows about it, got to be very careful. All of a sudden, it'll stop working. And the analogy I'll use is the 0-2 teams back in game 3 now. We cashed for a decade with that. First half, first quarters. Betting markets have caught on. Now we see the first quarter, first half lines higher than the game lines. An example, game 7s tomorrow. The Knicks last night, that game goes over, lands 219, goes over the 216. Now it's 209. They instantly opened it 7 points lower for game 7 tomorrow. Denver, Minnesota game, 6 to 7 points lower tomorrow for game 7. This OKC Dallas game is now priced at 208.5. We had totals in the 230s in the regular season. So you always lean under in these elimination games, but the pricing has been factored big time. And the other example I'll use is Game 7, Cleveland-Orlando a couple weeks ago. Every game was lined 200 or higher. Game 7, 194, it lands 200. Every other game it would have stayed under, it goes over. And that was with like 30-some junk points in the last 3 minutes. Otherwise, it stays under even. So I always lean under in these elimination games, but I just don't think the value's there anymore. So that makes the team totals very tricky. I do a rescoring model. It's been favoring the over in this series. The lowest rescore was 196 the other night in game 5, but all the other ones were in the mid 2-teens and 210, 215 range. So they priced this low. I'd actually lean over based on value, but I'm neutral just because game 6s are usually very low scoring.
All right. Andrew wants to know your thoughts on the Diamondbacks today. Who the hell are the Diamondbacks playing? They are playing the Tigers, guys. We all know I don't follow baseball, but that's why we have Steve Merril on, because we can ask Steve Merril about any game on the board, and he's going to have an answer for us tonight, 8:10 Eastern, 5:10 Pacific. Detroit, small dog here on the road, plus 120-ish, we'll call it here on the WagerTalk odds screen. Arizona as high as 147 there. Zach Gallen, he gets a lot of love. If I recognize your name as a pitcher, that should tell you something. He is 5-2 on the season versus a pitcher named Jack Flattery, who is 0-3, 3.88 ERA. Tell me your thoughts here, Steve, on this one for our good buddy Andrew in the chat.
Yeah, I'm mentioning our friend Ralph Michaels a lot. You know, Ralph had a chart a few weeks ago. He sent all of us at WagerTalk about days of the week and how favorites dogs all do in baseball. I'm thinking this is useless. You know, I don't care about if it's Monday or Tuesday. But then it started to occur to me when I looked at the chart that favorites did very well on Friday. So I reached out to Ralph and I go, could you send me the breakdown of games 1, 2, 3, and 4 in a series? And my logic is that Friday is almost always game 1. And it makes sense that the better team would be focused in game 1 of a new series. And that's exactly how it's worked. And Dan Alexander and I have talked a lot about this on the baseball show the past few weeks when I've been doing the Friday episodes, like yesterday, that on my short list every Friday, I look for road favorites. The sweet spot, by the way, is road favorites more than home favorites. And that makes even more sense. You're on the road, you're extra focused, you're laying a discounted price. Home field really isn't worth much in baseball other than batting in the bottom of the 9th. And there were some teams that qualified yesterday, and one of them was the Detroit Tigers. And I kept it off my card because I'm not laying a price on the road with Johnny Detroit's Tigers with a losing record when they've been shut out back-to-back games, no runs scored. And what do? They go on, they win 13-0 last night in that spot as a road favorite. So it's a powerful angle, something to keep an eye on. The opposite side of that is Saturday and Sunday, especially Sunday tomorrow, the getaway day, all the early games. We see a lot of randomness. Phillies road favorite last week at Miami, and Dan Alexander and I all said it was too easy, and they blew them out. They won 2 in a row, and then Miami got them on Sunday. Different matchup today, though, as you mentioned, Kelly, with the pitcher. Zach Gallen, all-star starter last year against really a guy that nobody knows, Flaherty. And it does look like a better bounce-back spot here for Arizona. Detroit was in a good spot yesterday. It looks better for Arizona. The problem with the D-backs is they are ice-cold offensively. 2 runs or less in 3 straight games. 6 hits or less in 3 straight games. I know you don't follow baseball, but you know enough to know that is not good offensive current form. So I'd probably lean towards the under in this one.
Yeah, that's listen, I follow it recreationally, Steve. I'll say this.
Right.
I hear a lot from guys in the chat. I talk to Marco every day. Dave Koken is so nice to share his plays with me. Good friend Ariel Epstein. I occasionally log in to see what you're on in baseball as well over at wagertalk.com. I do like the action. I just don't like having to put forth the effort. That's the problem. I need a mental break for like a good 4 months, and that's what baseball season provides me. The first time I ever tried to handicap baseball, I'll never forget, Steve. I got Trading Bases, the book. I've got a couple other guys at my disposal. This is 10, 12 years ago. And I'm constantly asking questions. And I'm finally like, what am I doing? Racking my brain trying to handicap baseball when I have guys like Steve Merril at my disposal. I can just send a little text to. Let's talk about the NBA game a little bit more. We have a couple of prop bets. William Bennett asking, Big Daddy asking, Luka has been a triple-double machine. PJ Washington over 2.5 3-pointers, or Kyrie Irving over 5.5 assists. Who would you go with here, Steve?
Yeah, we'll start with Kyrie Irving, and I've talked a lot about this in my daily video. First of all, Irving has not been scoring, and his point total is as low as it's been now in the series. It's down, I believe, to about 19.5. He's gotten over 20 in 2 of the 5 games, only over 20 once in the other 4, though. So he's a guy that's not been getting the points, and for that reason, I think the assist prop makes a lot of sense. He was under, I think he only had 4 in the last game, but it makes sense that he's going to probably continue to get assists if he's not scoring. Jones Jr. was one of my favorite props in the series. I gave that out free on the video. Also gave it out on the NBA tip-off show with Joe Raineri on Thursday. And I mentioned how P.J. Washington has been vastly over-exceeding 3 straight games with over 20 points. And normally you look for a guy like that to regress. The problem is when you have to shut down Doncic and Irving, it's hard to shut down a third guy. And Washington was getting a lot of shot attempts. So I stayed off his prop, and I looked for Jones Jr., who had been just 1 for 10 in game 3 to have a breakout game, or game 2 have a breakout game. And he's done that the last couple, and he's had over his point total. So that's what I like to look for, is these under the radar guys. I think they will continue to try to take Kyrie Irving out from the scoring role. That'll give him more assists. And it'll also continue to lead to more shots for Washington. I like his 3-point attempts made over. I think it makes sense. And Jones has had a breakout game. He might regress a little tonight because I do favor OKC, and it's usually a lower scoring game. That's just how I approach these props. I like to zig and zag when the market goes the other way. Kyrie Irving, though, is a guy that's been priced overinflated on his points prop, so I continue to be careful with that. I think his assist prop is better option overall.
Steve, now we are approaching the end of the NBA season, but I always have questions. As you guys know, I used to do a little work for NBA TV. I used to follow it a lot more closely, and I still watch almost every single game during the playoffs, but during the regular season, I don't. When it comes to these player props, we need to be looking at under the radar guys, because we know that the LeBrons, the Kyries, the Durants, the Steph Curry, all of the guys' names that the average Joe knows are going to be inflated because the books are going to receive the most bets on those guys. But some of these really under the radar guys sometimes don't get all the minutes you expect them to get. Sometimes just kind of fall a little too under the radar. Can you give me a little bit more insight on your thoughts on who you're looking for in terms of these player props and why?
Yeah, what I do basically is I like to look at minutes and shot attempts, because you're exactly right. If you're playing a backup and he doesn't get a lot of minutes, it's just hard to score. So what you like to look for is a guy that maybe had a really bad shooting night, but we're getting the minutes. And in the playoffs, I really dig into player props because they're playing the same team 6 or 7 straight times. And what happens is when one guy goes off, the other team game plans more to stop him, whereas that guy does not go off. If he's 1 for 10 shooting, you don't care about him. And that was Jones Jr., 1 for 10 in game 3, and then he soars over in games 4 and 5. And with Washington having big games in 3 and 4, they had to shut down a third guy. That left the fourth guy open. So that's kind of the game plan that you look for. With the superstars, I'm with you. You're always going to be paying a premium with the over. But as I say in my daily video, I'm not in a hurry to fade Doncic. I'm not in a hurry to fade Jalen Brunson. I'm not in a hurry to fade LeBron during his heyday. So I'm always looking for a reason to play a star player over after an off game, as long as they're not injured. Brunson had the 4 straight 40-point games, became only the 4th guy in playoff history to do that. And then he hit the 20s for a couple games, but one of them, he didn't play the second quarter. We saw what he did in game 5 the other night. He came back down to earth. I liked the Pacers last night in game 6. Tomorrow in game 7, I'll be doing my video later today. It'll be up Sunday morning for both game 7s tomorrow here on WagerTalk TV. it's Brunson over or pass. I am not fading the most underrated superstar in the NBA at home in a game 7. It might be a premium. We might be playing a Publix play there, but yeah, it's over or pass for me in superstars in big games.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that too. As somebody who likes to step in front of a moving freight train, usually during college football season, for some reason with the professionals, I don't like to do that, Steve. So I'm with you. Sometimes it is just over or pass. Steven Utterback wants to know, Steve Merril, what is your favorite team total for today?
Well, not if we're talking NBA, we don't have a lot of choices, do we? We only have 2 to choose from. Once again, as I said earlier, I'm kind of neutral on the team totals today for a couple reasons. First of all, game 6s and 7s, your default look is under, more defense, lower scoring, slower pace. But my math rescore on this series has been over, and we've had a lot of recent unders. In fact, 4 of the 5, or actually, no, what is it? 4 of the 5. Yeah, 4 of the other 5 games have gone under in this series so far. I do think OKC is a little undervalued here, so I guess I would lean OKC over, Dallas under. Dallas team total under would probably be my top recommendation just because you're getting a bigger number with them at home, and I do think they might regress a bit.
All right, well, let's capitalize on that. In terms of baseball team totals, do you ever bet those, look towards those when you like a total, but know that maybe one of the teams is just better than the other? So like, let's say you like an over, but you're like, oh, they're playing an atrocious offense. So you would just bet their specific team total over.
Yeah, Kelly, to be honest, it's really simple for me with team totals. When I get to a team total, it's usually because I like a side and total in that game. And then you start thinking, like, for example, last night's a good example. We had best bets, client best bets last night on the Pacers and the over in game 6. Nice 2-0 sweep for our clients. But that naturally means I like Pacers team total over, right? So then it becomes, once again, a money management thing. How do you want to play it? And I was thinking about this as the game was going on because the Pacers were an easy win last night. They were up by 20 late. But the in-game line of the total was right on the mark around 216 till a couple minutes to go. And obviously the Pacer team total was a safer option, but I ended up cashing 2 plays versus 1. So, different ways to do it. I think what you could always do, just like with the underdogs and the money line, you can split it a little bit. If you like a dog in the NFL or the NBA, as you and I talk about, sprinkle some of it, a third of the play on the money line, maybe put the rest on the point spread. Same thing with team totals. If you like a side and a total, play a third, play a third, play a third. But for me, team totals really come more naturally. It's really when I like a side and a total already in the same game.
That's really interesting. I might have to start looking at this. I have always just been so traditional, right?
I'm the same way. We've been doing this for a while. Yeah, for you and me both. And like these player props are new for me because for the new viewers out there, the ones that are under 30 aren't going to understand this. But when Kelly and I came up doing this 30 years ago, we weren't even like, I know. I knew she'd like that. She turns 50 next week. Send her happy birthday wishes on Twitter and be sure to tag me at Steve Merril, 2Rs1L, so I can see all the reaction. But no, when I started 30 years ago, I won't clump you in with me 20 years ago, like you're that young, 20 years ago for you. But look, when you are too young to remember this, but in the late 90s when I started, Kelly.
Okay, how about 11 years ago? Can we go like 11?
You did not start 11. You did not start 11 years ago. That is
was when I started doing this on a very regular basis.
You did not.
2009 is when I started.
Forever. You really didn't start since 13. I was going to say it was before the teens. I know that much.
That was just a little different. Like that was more like recreational. That was before I started working at Don Best. And
Don Best is a real recreational company in the sports betting industry. Look, she started when she was 15. She's still extremely young. She's fine. But look, when you didn't start in the 90s. I do shows all week with Teddy.
I did not start in the 90s. I was in the
I know you didn't. I know. Put this in perspective. The last several days I've done shows with Teddy, Brian Leonard, Prez. I'm the youngest guy in the room and with all those guys, and I'm still pretty damn old. So it's hard for me to realize there was somebody that didn't start after the 1990s. But my point is that when I started, there weren't even totals on college football games in the late 90s, except for like 1 or 2 TV games a week. And now we're getting team totals on all the games, right? And we're getting player props. So it is a different world. And even when Kelly started just 10 years ago when she was 15 years old, it was hard to find team totals and props. So it is a different world now. And it's a good thing, Kelly, right? They got to put a lineup on everything. We don't have to bet everything. That's the one edge we have as a sports bettor is that we can be selective. And I think that's a very good thing here with the big market.
You're absolutely right. The more offerings that a sportsbook has, the less niche, we'll call it, focus that they have, if you will, right? Obviously, they know that the games that they're going to get the most handle on when they see the schedule in August. They know that Bama, Georgia is going to get a ridiculous amount of handle, that Michigan, Ohio State is. They don't know exactly what they're going to get in some of those MAC games until they hit that Tuesday night and everybody's scrambling to bet 5 minutes before kick because they want some action on the game. As you mentioned, the difference between recreational bettors and people aspiring to be professional bettors, such as myself. That's what I always tell everybody, like, hey, I'm having a great time, but this is still a job. You still have to put forth effort. It could be a second hobby, but regardless, you got to put forth the homework, if you will. So pick something that you're really good at and focus on that. And for me, that's always been college football, college basketball underdogs. Not so much basketball this year. We did hit a little baby 3-teamer just to save a little bit of face towards the end. But Steve, I agree with you. Finding what you're good at. Find a conference that you really like. Find a couple of sports that you really like, and really just divulge your free time into working on said sports, if you will. All right, guys, what else we got? Oh gosh, guys, all the funny comments about me being 50. All right.
Oh
John
God, who started
Williams.
that? Damn, Dan Alexander. You got to watch the producer.
It is Dan. Dan
Alexander. He told me you were almost 50. I said, Dan, this isn't true. I'm not believing it, but I trust you, so I'm rolling with it. That's all I know. He's hearing us.
I'm going to go get some more Botox. Is John Williams scoring over 17.5 tonight, Steve? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a guy I've talked a lot about in this series, and he actually cast a lot of unders, even though I've liked his overs. But this is one of the big three for Oklahoma City. Everyone talks about Holmgren. Everyone talks about SGA, Gilgeous-Alexander. Jalen Williams is the third best player on this team, and he has gone under his point total in several of these matchups. He's priced at 17.5. He has had 18 or less in 4 of the 5 games in this series. But he's hovered around this number every time. And he goes back to what I said earlier, Kelly. He's getting shot attempts. He's had 15, 17 attempts, 13 attempts in the last game. He's getting shot attempts. He's getting the minutes. And in a critical game 6, I think they're going to look to shut down SGA. They're maybe going to look to shut down Holmgren. I actually like Williams and Holmgren both over in this game. Not looking to fade a superstar in SGA, but he's priced to perfection at 31.5. I think Jalen Williams over point total 17.5 could be worth a look here in game 6.
Oh boy, I'm in trouble. First day back to work, and I have neglected the Instagram channel. I owe you guys an apology. So Steve, rapid fire, and we'll get you out of here. Let's hit some of these Instagram questions. They want to know about the Brewers taking on the Astros. Brewers had an opportunity last night. You know how I know? Because I was on them. Top of the 9th, had a shot to win the game. They're actually favored in game, couldn't get it done. Now today, they face the guy who I used to always fade. Loved fading Justin Verlander. If anything ever went a little wonky, a little rain delay, anything that threw him out of his routine, but he is a heavy favorite today, minus 170 on the WagerTalk odds screen. What are your thoughts on this one? Total 8.5.
Virginia's own Justin Verlander, Old Dominion graduate who is 40 years old now. You know, I've been handicapping his whole career, basically. And this is a guy we know quite well. He's been around forever. Remarkable pitcher, and really a guy it's fun to root for because, you know, so few guys go deep into games. So guys pitch into their late 30s, let alone 40. With that said, I'm being very careful with Verlander this season, and we have to see how he throws. He's now made 5 starts this year. So we have a little bit of a sample size to look at. Pretty good numbers, 3.4 ERA, a 1.19 whip. He still looks like he's got it. Houston is a very interesting team to talk about. You know, they got off to the terrible start. They had the second worst money line record, units lost after your Miami Marlins, who are the biggest money burner in baseball this year. But they have turned things on. They've won 6 straight, 8 of their last 9. It would be Houston or pass until they start to cool off. The bullpen has gotten a lot better. And Verlander looks like he's still got his stuff, even at age 40.
All right, the game that is starting here in about an hour, 1:05 Eastern, first pitch, Yankee Stadium. This is my team, actually, the lowly Chicago White Sox. Woof. Woof, Steve.
Wow.
This team is bad. I grew up a White Sox fan, for those of you guys that do not know. I had some family, we'll call it. Yeah, they were family. Think so. Anyway, that lived in south side of Chicago when I was a little kid. We went for a family reunion, went to a White Sox game, and I was hooked. and they won one World Series since. That should tell you there's some age relation there if you guys want to do the math. They are sizable.
Clues.
Sizable underdogs today, but that's not what the question is from Instagram. They want to know your thoughts on the team total. Why? Because the White Sox defense gives up an insurmountable amount of runs and kind of seems very easy, right? Almost 5 runs scored per game this team gives up. They give up a ton of hits, over 8 a game. Let's see what your thoughts are. Is this too easy to take the Yankees team total over?
So many things to work with here. I was going to say you became a White Sox fan when you went to that game in the late 70s and saw him wearing the shorts. And anybody who's like under 40 that's never seen that before, Google worst baseball uniform in history. Chicago. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, Kelly, you got to Google it right now while I'm talking. Google 1970s White Sox shorts. They wore these for several games. They're like softball. They're blue shorts, knee-high blue socks. They played Major League Baseball games in shorts. Now, a lot of things went wrong in the late. Now, you got to look this up. I got baseball cards with these pictures on it. It is scary. They played Major League Baseball games in the late 70s wearing shorts midsummer. It was supposed to keep them cooler. I don't know what the logic was, but this is just, look, it was late 70s. Polyester was sticky and hot. It was a bad time. My Little League uniforms in the mid-'80s were not comfortable. But yeah, she is younger than I thought, guys, because she didn't know about this. So this proves it right there. Late 70s, White Sox, shorts. All right, let's look at this game here. Your Chicago White Sox, 3-22 start. We're the worst team in baseball. But over the last couple of weeks, they've been the best moneymaker in all of baseball. So that's once again just shows the ebb and flow of the season. We talked about the Astros. They've been a play-on team. White Sox have been a play-on team. The problem is I'm not fading the Yankees with the White Sox. Last night, 4-2 game. I thought it would be low scoring. The one thing is about the White Sox, they've been winning without offense. That's what the A's did earlier in the season. This is still a terrible offensive team. They're batting about 208 on the season on the road, averaging just over 2.5 runs. So the only way the White Sox win are low-scoring games. And a lot of these recent wins have been the wins and the under. In fact, 5 of their last 6 games, actually 6 of their last 7 wins, they've stayed under. So White Sox in an under-correlated parlay has been working big time. I'm not touching that today. I would take the under in this game. Not laying the huge price with the Yankees, but game under does make some sense.
All right, last question here on Last Call. Braves money line. Ooh, let me open this one over here on the WagerTalk odds screen. I was too busy looking at these guys in shorts. I thought I sent it to our producer, Dan.
You find it? I found it.
I did.
I think that's Hoyt Wilhelm pitching. That's Hoyt Wilhelm pitching, I think.
I mean, like I said, it does not look like a baseball uniform. How about that? I'm surprised too, because you know how like certain things are very iconic. Like you're not going to see guys on the PGA Tour wearing shorts. It's just very odd to see. Especially Chicago only gets so hot during the summer. Like it's not, Arizona.
Ellie, it's so I'm looking at it now, like I can't stop looking. But like what I forgot that the uniforms have collared jerseys. I mean, it's like
that's what I said. It looks like a soccer uniform.
White Sox shorts uniform, people. That's what I typed into Google and it came up right away. So enjoy White Sox shorts uniform. You'll get some nice pictures. Some are almost like right above the knees, like they rolled up football pants. I could deal with that. But then they're showing this one dude, man, he's got like jacked up 1970s NBA shorts on.
And what's with
There's no way they're wearing a cup. I'll tell you that much. This is very dangerous.
Oh God. No, these were very definitely dangerous. What we like to call nut huggers. Steve, these are.
They didn't need a cup.
Yeah. Why are they navy blue?
Well, that's what I was like telling you. This was bad all the way around. And I didn't want you to have to see this, but, we started talking about it. And this is what you get being a White Sox fan. This is all Kelly's fault.
Listen, I had a Paul Canerico jersey, okay? Like, that's my White Sox fandom. That's the last time I cared about baseball.
Ron Kittle, worst baseball card I ever owned. Ron Kittle. You barely could bat 200 when everybody could hit 200. Now half the guys can't bat 200. Ron Kittle, the worst hitter in my youth. He was like a 180 hitter. I still glasses. They obviously weren't the right prescription. White Sox.
All right, last question from the Instagram. They want to know if you like the Braves -120 today. Bryce Elder on the mound for Atlanta. Yu Darvish, another name that I know pretty well. Underdog here, even money for the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about the Braves. And I don't have it in front of me. I think it's now 22-1. We'll have to look it up, Kelly. They've gone under, I think, now 22 of their last 23 games. And I meant to pull this up because they went under again last night, 3-1, $2 favorite. They lose outright 3-1, $1.80 favorite against the Cubs. Not your Chicago Cubs. 2 games ago, they lose 7-1. This is what we see in sports betting. The market corrects. I talked about the White Sox and Astros. Now they're winning. But when you get these monster streaks, either fading a team, when they've been very good for a while, like the Patriots have been a money burner. The Astros were a money burner earlier because they've been very good for a while. The odds makers just don't catch up. And this is insane. The Braves, I think, are now on a 22-1 under run the last 23, and that's because their offense has been awful, single-digit hits in almost every game, yet the odds makers aren't catching up. In fact, just a few games ago was the highest total of the night, and they're on an under run like this. So it's Braves under until we see otherwise. Obviously, that correlates to the team total under as well.
All right, Steve Merril, we have 2 NBA games tomorrow. Tell me what you have up over at WagerTalk.com for all of our audience.
Yeah, we'll do a deep dive in both of those critical Game 7s for Sunday here on the channel. Later tonight, we'll have it up Sunday morning. Check out my daily NBA video here on Wager Talk TV. It is free, it is in-depth, and you will get some knowledge for both Game 7s tomorrow and Sunday. For Game 6 tonight, I do have a strong best bet between OKC and Dallas. Also a baseball best bet, and I am in nice form. Perfect 4-0 sweep in baseball and basketball best bets on both Thursday and Friday. Looking to sweep the board again tonight. Also, bonus free plays every day on my page, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. You get there quicker with that shortcut on the screen, wt.buzz/SM.
Thank you to Steve Merril, 2 R's, 1 L, if you guys would like to give him a follow on Twitter. And this has been Last Call. I will not be here next week. I will not be here the following week, but I promise to be here a significant amount in June and July, and of course, getting you through till we get football season back. We've got tons of great handicappers, and there's those lovely Chicago uniforms for your laughing pleasure.
1976,
goodness.
Kelly. That's when it was. 1976. Wow.
Yeah, well, Steve's
Gone down the rabbit hole.
To reel it in here on the reality of when I was born. That being said, thank you, Steve. You are the best. It's always a pleasure having you on here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Thank you guys who watched on Twitter as well as Instagram. All right, guys, good luck. Cash some of those tickets, and we'll see you next week.